Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Nedarim Daf Samach Ches. We are holding right on top of the Amid. Dvei Rabbi Yishmael Tana. Back to the sugya of a Na'ara, Hama'urasa. You have an Isha who is an adult, 12 years old, but below 12 and a half. She is still in her father's rishus pertaining to many things, including Hafaras Nedarim. You can cancel her neder. But if she's a Mu'urasa, she's engaged. She's mukudeshes to this fellow. So in terms of halachos of Torah, we consider him to be her husband to a certain extent. He's called a Baal, although it's still pre-marriage. In this state, she's considered under both men's control, meaning in terms of Hafaras Nedarim, father and husband need to join forces to make Hafaras Nedarim on her vows. How do we know this? So yesterday Rabbah presented a drasha based on a pasuk Vim Hayosiyah Ish that a Nara in this state, her Nedarim will be in the hands of her father and her husband. So father in conjunction with husband can be made for her Nedarim, but each one alone cannot do so. Today we're going to have another source for this concept, that it's a joint effort between father and husband. Dvei Rabbi Yishmael Tana, in the Beis Medrash of Rabbi Yishmael, they presented the following brisa with the following makor for this halacha. The parsha of Nedarim concludes with the pasuk, Eila hachukim asher tziva Hashem es Moshe, bein ish le'ishtoi, bein av levitoi, between a father and daughter, between a husband and wife. Binurei beisavia. We learn from this pasuk that at a certain point in her life, when she is bin ureha, she's still a nara. Beisavia, still part of her father's, rishus, part of her father's household. But she is already engaged. At this point, both father, let's call him Reuven. Father is Reuven and husband is Shimon. Father and husband, Reuven and Shimon, will need to join forces to make Hafaras Nedarim. Beinish le'ishtoi, beinav lebitoi. The pasuk here is indicating that there is a special circumstance where both men, father and husband, will be involved in Hafaras Nedarim. Mikan, we learn from here. What state are we speaking about? This is not your typical situation. An unmarried single girl is totally in her father's rishus. A fully married woman in her husband's rishus. So which case are we speaking about? Something in between. An interim stage. Mikan lenara hamurasa. We learn from here that a nara who's a murasa. Both father and husband are involved in her Hafaras Nedarim. So that's another makar for this halach. Asks the Gemara, what does each opinion do with the other person's pasuk? We have two possible sources. Rabbah's pasuk, which indicates that a Baal will join forces with her father, and we have today's pasuk, a pasuk which describes an isha in both people's hands, father and husband. Why do we need both psukim for this halacha? According to them, what do we do with the other pasuk presented by Rabbi yesterday? My Avadle, what does he do with that pasuk? He applies it to another halacha presented by Rava. Presented by Rava back further down by the sugya naf ayin, which we're going to get to Be'ezus Hashem. So he applies it for another drush. Next question: for Rabba, who learned this halacha from Vim Oyesiyah Ish, the halacha of Na'amorasa. So what does he do with this pasuk? Hi, the Tanat Rabbi Yishmael. My Avadle, what does he do with today's pasuk of Ben Ish Ishte Ben Avlevita? Answer is Mibayle. He applies it for the following. Leimar to teach us. You see, the pasuk speaks about a husband interfering with his wife's neder, if it is a neder or a shvua which disrupts her life, which pains her, generates, inconvenience. As the pasuk says, la'anois nafesh. If it's an inu nefesh issue, father can step in. But what about something which is not pertaining to her inui nefesh, rather something which gets in the way of their relationship, which is called dvarim shebeinoi lebeina? Can a husband step in and cancel that? The answer is yes. And we learn it from this pasuk. Just as a Baal can be made for Nedarim which are inoi nefesh, likewise, he can step in and cancel Nedarim which get in the way of their relationship. Dvarim shebeino lebeino, which we'll discuss later on Daf Pei Aleph. Be'ezus Hashem. And that is learned from this pasuk. Bein ish le'ishtei, something which is between them, which interferes with their relationship. Interesting that the Ran points out this same formula holds true between father and daughter as well. A single girl in her father's hands. Father can do afaras nedarim. To what type of nedarim? Any neder? Says Ran, no. You see, this pasuk equates husband's ability to interfere with his wife's neder to father's ability. It's all the same, following the same guidelines. And just as by husband, it only works by nedarim which fall into one of these two categories, inui nefesh or beinoi lebeina. Likewise, when a father interferes with his daughter, with his unmarried, single daughter's neder, it's only pertaining to these types of nedarim, either inui nefesh or beinoi lebeina. However, he brings the Rambam who disagrees. He says, father is different than husband. Av is mefer kol nidrei bitoi. Father's control is stronger, it's more absolute, more all-encompassing, which gives him the ability to be made for any nedarim of his daughter. It's only by the husband and wife where we have these limitations. Interesting machlekes rishonim. So bottom line is, when it comes to a single girl, father's in control. Married woman, husband's in control. What about somewhere in between? A nara amurasa. Father and husband must join forces and do the hafara in conjunction with each other. Why? We have two possible sources. Yesterday's Gemara and today's pasuk presented by Tana de Rabbi Shmuel. Here comes an interesting question. So each one, Reuven and Shimon, father and husband, will do part of the hafara. So when they join together, it's a complete disruption. How do we view each person's ability? Is it 50% in quantity or in quality? Ibn Yeshiva presented the following query. When a Baal of a Na'ara Hamuras, whose neder needs to be attended to by husband and father. So now this Baal steps forward and he does his hafara on his own. What happens? It's only a partial hafara. But how do we treat it? How is it packaged? What is the effect? Megas gayas. Is it as though he chopped off half? 50% in terms of quantity. Half is gone and half is still intact, awaiting father's hafara. Or shall we say it's all qualitative? You can't quantify it. Rather, oy miklish kolish. When husband does the hafara on his own, prior to fathers getting involved, he's not chopping off half of the quantity. Rather, he affects a weakening of the entire neder. So it's sort of like, 50% in quality, but the entire neder is affected. You would think it's just theoretics. Says the Gemara, no. There is a big nafkamina. Heicha kame boilan. When would this question have any, ramification? As follows: Kigoyin, the Nedarim mitrein zeisen. The Isha made a neder. These two olives, or food, with the shear, the measure of an olive. So 2 olive worths of food, 2 shiurim, which is standard for isurim, a shear kazayis. So 2 kazaysim are usher to me. And the Ran points out that although there's a shita which says that even a masha, even a drop, would generate malchus if it's usher as neder, but here we're speaking. He says we're going for the shita that you need a kazais. In any case, that's what happened. Okay, these 2 kazaisim are usher to me by way of neder. going to Nedarim train Zaysim. V'shama Aros, and this fiance heard this, the Neder, the Baal, the Chassan. Ve'eferla, stepped up and canceled the Neder. So just the Aros canceled his portion of the Neder, but the father was not yet involved. V'achaltinan, and the Isha went along and ate both Zaysim. What is her status? Is she getting Malkus or not? It depends on our question. It depends on what happened when Baal did his afara. If we shall learn that when either one of these two parties, whether husband or father, by the way, this question pertains to father as well, as Ran points out. So when just one of these two parties did his hafara, if we say it's Megaz Gais, he chops away half. So in this case, there were two Zaysim Asr. Husband chopped away half. So one Zayis is mutter, but the other Zayis still maintains its Isser, Alakia. And she went ahead and ate both Kazaysim. We don't know which one is the mutter, which one is the Asr. So she had both. She gets Malkas on account of that Zayis, which is Asr. That Zayis' Isser remained unaffected by the husband's Hafara, which only canceled half the Neder, half the two, which is only one. But the other one is still fully Asr, which generates Malkus. But if we shall say that when a husband does his own afara, that afara has a profound effect on the entire Isser. It affects a weakening on both Zaysim. So it cancels the Malkus entirely. Isura ba'almahu, all we have is Isser. For whatever reason, the Gemara is assuming it's still Asr, but there is no Malkus at all, because of the husband's hafara. So which way is it? Is it a 50% discount in terms of quantity? Or is it a weakening, somewhat of a weakening effect on the entire thing, which affects the entire thing fully? Which way to look at it? And the Gemara will bring a brisa and conclude with a machlekes b'shama b'sil, revolving around this very question. Tashma. Here comes a brisa. Now the brisa here will present for us an interesting concept called nisroikna. Emptying, spilling over, vacating, transferring. The halacha is that although the nada, hamurasas nedarim, need to be attended to by both parties, Reuben and Shimon, father and husband, but suppose husband left the scene, he passed away, before having a chance to get involved. The father now assumes full control. It's like he inherits the husband's portion of that neder, and now he has full access to the neder and can be made for that neder. So it only works this way, from husband to father, because father is the primary, controller of the nedarim. The fact that she was by him until now. So although once she gets engaged, husband gets involved as well, but he's like sort of secondary to father, who still assumes primary responsibility for her nedarim. So if husband's around, okay, father must allow him, some control. He has to share it with him. But when husband's off the scene, passes away, father resumes total control. But it doesn't work the other way. If she was engaged and father disappeared, father was mace, husband will not assume full control and which will give him exclusive rights to Ataras and Darim. No, we don't say that. Father is primary and Baal is secondary. When do we apply this concept of Mesa Baal? If husband passes away during the engagement period, we shall say Nisreikna, Rishus Lav, his ability, his control, his rights, his privilege gets passed on to the father. When do we say that? So the Brisa will sort of go back and forth. We'll have a case where it works, a case where it doesn't work. Doesn't work, yeah, back and forth. Bizman shalei shama habal. It only works if husband never heard about the neder. He wasn't involved. Kodim shiyamas before he passed away. And then he passed away. Father takes control. Oy, and the Bach changes the gears. Oy, sheshama v'hafer. Or he heard about the neder, and he did hafaras nedarim. Or in the third case, he heard the neder, he ignored it, he remained silent, but he passed away on that day, so he didn't really do shatika until the end of the day, which would be, equated to hakama. You see, if the husband actually does hakama, he's making the neder, he confirms it, then it's too late. Father can no longer assume control and be mefer, because the husband's hakama disrupts the father's ability to do hafara, as we learned yesterday. But we have 3 examples of cases where husband did not confirm the neder, either because he did hafara, or he never heard about it, or he heard and he was just giving him some time, he was contemplating, and he passed away on that day, not giving it a chance to really confirm itself. Because if he had passed away the next day, so his shtika, his silence, would be treated like hakama. That's not what happened. He heard about it, he thought it over, and he passed away on that day. In all these situations, since husband did not confirm the neder, so when he passes away, he's off the scene. He's a non-entity. He's a non-factor. And by the way, even his hafara becomes batal. But it doesn't matter. On this type of case, we learned that meis habal nisreikna nishus ha'av. If husband passes away, nisreikna rishus lav, his rishus, his koyach of hafara moves on to the father, who now assumes total control and can do hafaras nedarim. Avalim shama v'kiyam. This is the flip side. Let's say the husband heard about the neder and he was mekayim it. It's too late now for the father to interfere. Because if one of these 2 parties does hakama, that's it, the neder is confirmed. So for hafara, each party needs the other one. But for hakama, each one alone can inflict that damage. We learned this yesterday. Okay, so if husband heard the neder and he was making, there's another form of hakama. He heard her neder, remained silent until the next day. So once that day is over, it's tantamount to hakama. In all these situations, it's too late. So even if he passes away, the neder stands. The neder is confirmed. Ein yachal hafer, father cannot do hafara. So this is item number 1 of the brisa. Again, if husband did hakama, or something which is treated like hakama, too late. But if he did not do hakama, because either he never heard of the neder, he heard about it, he can remain silent until the next, and passed away that day, or he did hafara on that day, and then he passes away. He becomes a non-entity, a non-factor. Now, a father assumes all rights to the neder and can do hafara. Next case, which will highlight the contrast. Because as we explained, this transfer, this nisreikna, the Rashi says it's like, pouring wine from one vessel to the other. The koyach of hafara only goes one way. It's a one-way privilege from husband to father, because father is primary to husband. But it will never be transferred from father to husband, as we're going to see in a second. Suppose the father heard the neder and he did hafara. By the time the husband got around to hearing the neder, father was gone, he passed away. And this is a chiddush, the Ran says, that there wasn't much left of this neder. Father did a hafara on his part, and the husband wasn't involved until way later. So perhaps there isn't much left to this neder. By the time the husband got involved, it was very little here. The neder was already affected by the father's hafara, and suddenly now husband heard about it. He's picking up some broken pieces. I would think maybe we'll give the husband the right to finish off the job. No. So Shama Avia Ve'efra V'lo Yispik Ba'al L'Shmo Yad Shmei Sa'av. Too late, because we don't transfer the neder over to the husband. Zui Sheshaninu. On this we learned the halacha later on in Daf Ayin. Mei Sa'av. If father passes away before the husband got a chance to chip in his part in the hafaras nedarim, he doesn't get it. The rishus doesn't get transferred to the husband. That's it. The neder will not have hafara. Now the next 2 cases, we're going to have situations which we pretty much covered, but there's a slight difference in variation in terms of, specific details, which highlight the Chiddush, but the idea and the concept is really the same. Nisroikna only works from husband to father, but not from father to husband. Again, the idea is that the father is considered primary to the husband, who is merely secondary to the father. So we have Shama Bala Ve'eferlo. The husband heard, did Hafara. And by the time the father knew about the neder, husband was gone. So here, interestingly enough, the Ran will point out that there's a chiddush the other way. You see, here, there isn't much left, right? Husband heard, did Hafara, before the father even got involved. By the time the father stepped in, there was a weak neder here. There wasn't much to talk about. So you would think perhaps this would work against the father. So the Ran says, this svara, that it's a weak neder, the weak neder factor can work both ways. It can be a svara to say, well, it's so weak, let me just take it. That was the svara before. Now we're going to switch it the other way. It's so weak. Husband already did his hafara before father got involved. By the time the father reached the scene, he was confronted with a very shaky neder. It's so weak, perhaps father can't get it. There's not much to get. There's not much to inherit. It's so insignificant. Who says he can grab a hold of that neder and take it for himself? Yes, he can. So this svara of a weak neder can work both ways. It could be a svara to say, well, it's so little, let me just have it. No, we don't give it to the husband. That was a previous case. Here, it's so weak. Who says father can even take it? He can. Shama Bala Ve'eferlo. Husband heard, did Hafara. By the time the father got involved, husband was already mace. It works. What works? Here we have the halacha that if the husband passes away, everything's transferred to the father, who just starts from scratch, does his own afaras nedarim, and it's good to go. What about Shama Bala Ve'eferla? Here we're going to have a no nisreikna. Right? We don't allow the husband to take over. So we're sort of zigzagging, going back and forth. Yes, nisreikna from husband to father. No nisreikna from father to husband. Yes, nisreikna from husband to father. That was the last case. Now we're going to have father to husband. No nisreikna. Shama Bala Ve'eferla. Husband heard about the neder. Did Hafara. Father was not yet involved. Right? Just the husband's hafara. By the time the father got a chance to hear about it, he wasn't around. He was mace. So you would think perhaps in this case, explains the Ran, there was no father on the scene, ever. He never heard about it. He's not around today. So, the husband's hafara was effective to a certain extent, and the neder became so weak, I would think maybe the husband could just, jump into the driver's seat and take over the entire neder. No, Eina Baal Yachal. Husband can't do anything. She'eina Baal Mefer El B'Shutfus, because the Baal can only contribute together with the father. It's a joint effort. There's no father, forget about it. Interestingly enough, the Ran points out that in contrast to the previous cases, where we have a discussion of yes nisroikna, loy nisroikna, here the Brisa sort of switches the nusach. The Brisa could have said, look, father died, we don't say nisroikna. The Brisa chooses different words. Eina Baal Yachal. For the reason why husband can't assume full responsibility, she'eina Baal Mefer El B'Shutfus. A general concept, the husband can only do it in conjunction with a father. And the reason is because over here, father was never involved at all. The Ran says, he never heard about it. He was never aware of the neder at all. So you think maybe since father didn't really have a say in the matter, he wasn't zoich in the neder, he wasn't involved, this would allow the husband to take over upon the father's death. No. Here it's not a question of transferring. The father never had it. It's a bigger chiddush, even now. Says around most of the psikta, it's an absolute, formula. She'eina Baal Mefer El B'Shutfus. It's not a question of taking over the father. Father never had his part. He was never here to know about it. Still, husband can never do it unless there's a father involved. That's why the Brisa picks this lashon. Ein habal mefer el b'shutfus. Okay, here comes the fifth and final case, which pertains to our discussion, and it will end up being a machlekes b'shamai b'sila. Okay, shama avia ve'efelo. Husband, a father heard about it, and he did hafara during the husband's lifetime. And then the husband passed away. This is the same case as before, just in reverse. Husband made the hafara. Father made the hafara. Husband was before. Now the father made the hafara when husband was around. But husband didn't even know about the neder yet before he passed away. Can the father step back into the circle and do hafara? Can he take over the other portion of the neder which was destined for the husband? Yes. Father can step back in. He doesn't have to redo his own hafara, which is perfectly fine, but he can go over and cancel the other part of the neder, the other 50%, so to speak, which was meant for the husband, who's no longer here. Father can take over and redo that. Amar Ibn Asim. This only works with that 50% formula. Hey, this halacha reflects Beis Shammai's shit, who hold that when the father did his own hafara, it chopped off 50%. Megas gayis, 50% quantitatively was cancelled, leaving the other 50% intact for the husband. Husband is no longer here. Father steps in and takes that over. There's something there for him to grab, something to be yorish. A full 50% which is still standing. But Beis Hillel disagree. Because when a father did hafara, it affected the entire configuration. It weakened the entire neder. It's not like he did his half and the other half is still standing, which allows him to go back and embrace that other half upon the husband's death. No. When father did his hafara, it semi-collapsed the entire neder, waiting for the husband to finish the whole demolition process. But now that husband's no longer here, there's nothing significant here for the father to take control of. And the Ran's lashon, it's there isn't enough there. Interesting svara. There isn't enough there. You can only be yurish something which is tangible, which is intact. But the whole thing is already on the verge of collapse. Father can't go back and retake that part which was meant for the husband to finish off. Only the husband can finish that off. Father can't. Father can't come back and finish the hafara. Shema mina. This proves our point. Back to that question. We have two parties meant to work in conjunction with each other. What happens if one of them does the hafara? Is it a slice off? 50% is off and the other 50% is standing? Or does he shake up the entire thing part way? Here we have a conclusion. It's machlekes tanoim. Beis Shammai, who say that father can come back and retake the other 50%, which is still maintained, which is still intact, unaffected by the first hafara. The Beis Shammai make as gayas, because the first hafara chopped off half, but the other half is still standing. And when the opportunity arises, father can go over and retake that and do hafara on that part, and you're good to go. According to Beis Hillel, when father did hafara initially, it shook up the entire neder, leaving it on the verge of collapse, waiting for the husband to come finish the rest. Husband's gone. Father can't come back. There's nothing there chashav enough for him to retake. The Beis Hillel miklish kolish, because they look at the hafara differently than Beis Shammai. Shmami no. So that's a clarity and conclusion on our question. Back to the shaila, we have an issue making a neder on two zaysim. Husband steps up and says, "Look, move for lichi." What happens? Is one zayis aser and one zayis mutter? In which case, if she eats both, she gets malchus, because inevitably she ate the one that's aser. Or shall we say, the hafara did a weakening of the entire neder, in which case, if she eats even both, there is no malchus? The answer is, according to Beis Shammai, there is malchus. According to Beis Hillel, there is no malchus. So we learned a couple of ideas today. We had the sugi of Nara Murasa, where husband and father join together to mefer Nedarim. We have either the pasuk learned yesterday, Moyesel Ish, which indicates that both must be involved, or today's pasuk, Ben Ishtay Ben Avlabitoi, Ben Urea Beisavia. On that stage, father and husband must join forces. What type of Nedarim can they cancel? So according to the Ran's Pshat, just as the husband can only interfere with Inui Nefesh or Beino Lebeino, likewise father can be made for those specific categories of Nedarim. Now when one of these two people will do his afar without the other, what happens? Does he chop off half? Does he weaken half of the whole thing? We ended up with a Machlekes Tanoim. And by the way, we went through a Bryce, presenting to us this concept called Nisroikna. Father's ability to interfere is primary versus husband's who's secondary. So if it so happened that husband did hakama too late, father can't control the neder anymore. But if he did a hafara, or he just vacated the scene without confirming the neder, his is chus, his control reverts to the father. This Nisroikna l'shasa'av, who can now exercise full control on that neder, but only works from husband to father. But if a similar situation should arise between father to husband, lo nisroikna l'shus habal. All the best to you and hatzlacha Rabbah.